Hi, thank you so much and welcome to my channel. I wanted to do a demonstration of the pendulum and how it works because it's actually a very great tool to, I would say, to connect to your higher self, but this is actually a gateway tool to connect to spirits also and entities in the other worlds to get yes or no answers to the questions that you have, and depending upon your own frequency would actually determine the quality of answers that you would get from the pendulum. Mine's is a simple. For me, it was a necklace that I actually purchased for my son, whom he never really liked to wear. It's a selenite crystal, and it's attached to a hamstring rope. And you can actually purchase a pendulum, with crystals attached to them, or you can make a pendulum out of a necklace or any type of, things that, is kind of, I want to say, special to you. And for me, this necklace was very special because I bought it as something, as a protective stone for my son. And as he got a little bit bigger, it just was something that he didn't really like to kind of keep wearing all the time. So it became my pendulum and it's very heavy. So when I hold it, it's in my hand is very still. The weight of the pendulum, the weight of the stone itself, it actually it takes a lot, to kind of move it. So if I'm holding it at a still rate and it actually starts to, does its movement thing, it's really because there's just kind of like an energy flow that is, they're connecting with the pendulum to give the yes or no answer. And, those things are really determined based on also how you connect to the pendulum. So you would actually need to ask yes or no questions to the answers that you actually know, the yes and the no's too, so that you can see which way the pendulum swings to give you your yes and your no. So I'll actually just do a demonstration. Today is actually Friday that I'm, performing this pendulum test here, and I'm just gonna let it kind of swing out on its own because it's still kind of, giving me some swing from when I put it in my hand. But what I will ask is that is today Saturday? Is today Saturday? Is today Saturday? And if you can see, it's actually starting to pick up a swing. And that, for me, this directional swing is always a no. So it's telling me no, today's not Saturday. If you can see that. Now I'm just going to ask it a different question that I know a yes answer to. And we all know this answer is a yes because I'm here on YouTube. So do I have a YouTube channel that's called bijoubisous? And we'll see it switch directions. And if you can also see, my hand is actually pretty steady. So it's my YouTube channel called bijoubisous. And here's the yes. And if there's just like kind of a question that I need to ask, more questions too, it'll kind of start to spin around in a circle when it's unconclusive. So, from my perspective, it's moving side to side. From your perspective, because the angle in which I'm sitting, that's just the angle in which it's swinging. But for the terms of how the video actually is picking up on it, those were the swings that gives me the yes and no's from my angle in which how I'm looking at it. But and for me, I'm a very high vibrational being in my own self. So, I work with the tarot deck cards. I use different divination tools as well. But really and truly, this is a gateway to, like I said, the other world, just same way with Ouija boards. You have to be very careful when you are operating tools like this to speak with entities outside of yourself. It's honestly, I would say, the best way to go about connecting to the pendulum is purifying it and connecting it so that you can actually, get the yes or no answers from your higher self, because you can only really trust your soul. Entities on the outside could actually, they can lie, even beings of light, so you don't really want to kind of put yourself in a position where you're trusting anything outside of you, because it's just, you kind of open yourself up to a multitude of things that you don't necessarily know how to get rid of if you welcome it in. And this is actually more or less like a gateway. So you create an open window, and a vortex of energy is created when you actually say, I'm going to pick up a pendulum and use it to get answers. And yes, you might get some yes or no answers that will make sense to you, and then a lot of the times you'll get lies too. So you have to really, really be magic isn't really for everybody. I think it's more or less, if it's in you and you were called to handle certain things, then you should use certain things like this and these tools, because you have to be unfearful, really fearless, when it comes to divination and tapping into the realm of the occult, because it's really not a joking matter. It's really not something that I would suggest that people would just do just because they want answers, or just because they think that they can get involved with magic, or bending the elements, and they weren't necessarily chosen to kind of go through these initiations. And the thing about it is that unless you were kind of guided by spirit to do these things, you aren't necessarily protected fully. Okay, your protection really comes from your soul's path as well in this. So if it's not really on your path, and you're trying to force and forge a pathway for you just because you want power, then I can guarantee you'll be setting yourself up for a trap when you use tools like this, tarot, and any other divination to connect, if your whole idea is to just be about power and not of service to your soul's purpose. So I just wanted to give that disclaimer, keep that in mind, but I also wanted to give this demonstration because these are actual tools that can be used to help you bring forth clarity. And I use it all the time, for my own clarity, because a lot of the times, when you're a psychic and you can read things for other people, you have to be able to read for yourself too. And this for me is always a great way to connecting with my higher self when it becomes difficult to connect with my higher self through the other ways in which I connect. So I mean, there's just various things for you to do to get to whatever level of comfortability that you can get to with having that flow with your soul and but you have to kind of find your own groove into doing that. And for me, I have various different ways, but it's all about being authentic to yourself and making sure that you were called and chosen to use things like this, because like I said before, you can really open up a gateway to entities and spirits and things that aren't really, you wouldn't welcome them if you knew what you were dealing with. Okay, so be careful before you actually use these kinds of tools, and know that you were actually called to do that, and have no fear when you do. Otherwise, you can just kind of potentially kind of set yourself up for a trap that you'll be sorry for in the long run if you're not taking careful steps and precautions. And the best that I can tell you is to know that you were chosen to use tools like this, and not to call on spirits to get your answers, but call on your higher self, and to keep your energy grounded, as well as before you kind of use, if you're not really a person that keeps your energy high vibrational or your space very sacred and like a sanctuary, I would say kind of create a sacred space for you to do things like this with, so that whatever entities, if there are negative entities or not of light, they won't actually they won't be attracted to you if your space is not really conducive to their energy. So I would say maybe do some sage, kind of just ground the energies of your pendulum, as well as you, because these beings are just attracted to who you are too. So vibrate high and you won't have any problems. Take care. Until next time. Namaste.